So, I'm Asian, right? And the bar seems to be here. You reach this bar, it's here. But that's idealistic, not realistic.
Mhm.
And it becomes overwhelming for all of us. Tell me how we can approach those pillars of health in a consistent and meaningful way, but not an overwhelming
Yes.
way.
Beautiful. As I mentioned in the TED Talk that I did about my grandparents, when I really saw this work in real time, and my grandparents started working with me at age 75. And they, at that age, were very reluctant to take on any new habits, right? They're 75, they're retired, they're living their life, they're doing fine.
Fine.
And they didn't want anything extreme. And I said, okay, cool. So our bodies on the cellular volume count level is 99% water. So let's just start with water. Let's just look at how much you weigh, look at how much you need, and let's just set out bottles each morning for each of you. And let's see if we can finish that bottle for you, Grandma and Grandpa, each day.
Now, I just want to interrupt here
Yeah.
because anybody could be watching this, and most people can drink water ad lib as much as they want. They're thirsty, they drink, they should drink till they're not thirsty. But that's not true for everybody, right?
Right. Right.
So we just have to put that caveat on there to be a little bit careful. But that's a beautiful example.
Yes.
If you had to pick between those things we talked about, movement and air, food, water, what do you think, which pillar have you seen be neglected the most?
So in the last 10 to 15 years, it's always been water and still is heavily water, but sleep because of screens and perceived stress and the inability to process that stress. I have seen sleep overtake water as the primary neglect one. They're all pretty well neglected, especially in American culture. But sleep, everyone's struggling with sleep.
So I've heard a lot lately in the medical community about how going to the gym and working at 80%, let's say, of what your maximum is, creates a stress within the body. And that stress and your response to that stress actually helps you in other stressful situations that's completely separate.
hmm
Does that work the same way with all the pillars? Like the screens, that's creating a stress. So would somebody argue, well, that's creating a stress, therefore it doesn't matter if I sleep because I'm going to do better since I have this stress?
Great. So
I'm being facetious,
no,
of course. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
totally.
Well, but that's great. It's a great point because there's actually, medically speaking, there's distress and eustress. So there's healthy forms of stress and there's unhealthy forms of stress. However, the body globally, because this happens a lot, especially with people that subscribe to the hustle culture. They're up at 5, they're at the CrossFit gyms, Orange Theory, and they're killing themselves. The 80% is a beautiful thing because what you said was 80% of perceived effort, where people will often just push themselves, and where that potential for eustress, good stress comes in, they actually overdo it and they flip it over to distress, and exercise turns into another added stress to their body for the day.
Yep.
So that 80% rule is a beautiful thing.
Now, if we can get people to do the 80% with screen time.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Eric, would you mind showing us what one of these exercises might look like so our audience can understand what it is you do?
Absolutely. So we'll start with pillar 1, which is the breath work. And I measured this with a air pressure device. However, I can just show you for at home, you can do this anywhere. So most people, again, they breathe through their chest. We want 2/3 of the oxygen to come in through the belly, the last 1/3 through the chest. So I tell people, place your hand on your navel, place your hand over your heart. And when you breathe, this moves last. 2/3 first through the belly. Chest rises last. What most people find is that when they breathe in, they suck in and they breathe like this. But you actually, it's always through the nose, which stimulates the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system. So it's always through the nose, never through the mouth. 2/3 through the belly, last 1/3 through the chest. And that's a proper breath. If you watch a baby breathe, we are born perfect. If you watch a baby breathe while it's sleeping, it's belly, chest out, belly, chest out. Now, that is the pure mechanics of the exercise. Then, where do you apply it? How do you apply it? And when do you apply it? And how much do you apply it to all the different things we've talked about?
You're fabulous. Thanks for
Thank
sharing
you.
that.